Hello, welcome. I can see people are starting to join us. And we're going to give it a few more seconds to let people join us. Welcome, everybody. Hi. We're just going to let a few more join us from the other room. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Oh, I can see lots of people are joining us. Oh, fantastic. Welcome to our session all about cruise. So we're going to be now looking in the next 20 minutes at the restart of international cruise. Hurrah, couldn't have come soon enough. I know the industry has been itching for this. And we're going to be looking at where to first for the industry. Now, of course, with the recent restart of international cruise, we're going to take a look at how cruise lines are preparing to take their customers ashore in foreign countries once again. Which destinations are going to be returning first on itineraries, and what will shore excursions look like this summer and beyond? Just to introduce myself, I'm Sophie Griffiths, editor of TTG, and I am thrilled this afternoon to be joined by Mark Walter, head of UK sales at Hurtigruten, and Peter Shanks, managing director, UK, Ireland, Middle East and Africa at Silversea. Thank you to both of you for joining us this afternoon, and a reminder that these sessions are all about you guys, our travel agent audience. So if you've got any questions, please at any point do just pop them into the chat. Oh, hello, Marion. I can see you've said hello. Please put as many questions as you like in there, and I will put them all to Mark and Peter in the next 20 minutes. Right, just to kick off, Peter, I'm going to start with you. Big exciting news regarding international cruising restart being allowed from the UK government. You obviously, with Silversea, restarted international cruising from Greece, didn't you? How's that been going, and what about plans to restart international sailings from the UK?
Yeah, so we've got 4 ships sailing now, Sophie, and good afternoon, everybody. We've got the Silver Moon in Greece, we've got the Silver Muse in Alaska, Silver Origin in Galapagos, and the Silver Shadow in Iceland. So from a UK customer perspective, we're sending people to Greece on the Silver Moon, and we're just starting our 3rd sailing in Iceland. So those are the 2 destinations open at the moment. I was lucky enough to spend a few days on Silver Moon a couple of weeks ago. My first piece of travel, which was, as long as you fill the forms out, it's absolutely fine. No queues at Heathrow, no queues at Gatwick. Amazing. All very straightforward. So don't believe what you read in the press sometimes. But there's a tremendous feeling of excitement because people are back traveling. And on the ship, quite remarkable. I mean, we've had the highest ever scores for guest satisfaction.
Wow.
Because firstly, the crew are delighted to be back, so they're right at the top of their game. Mm-hmm. And secondly, guests are just happy to be back. And it's a very controlled environment. We're about 50% full at the moment. So we gave a commitment that we wouldn't start to sail anywhere near full. We'll probably move that up a little bit as we go on, but it's a lovely, safe environment. In fact, personally, having gone through hotels, airports, and airlines, this place I felt safest was on the ship.
Wow, that's pretty telling, isn't it? Mark, I'm going to come to you. You must also be equally thrilled. You've obviously got ships that are based in the UK. What are Hurtigruten's plans to restart international sailings?
Well, from a UK perspective, 22nd of September is key date for us because MS Maud sails from Dover after being sadly cancelled a number of times throughout this summer. She's arriving in Dover to be home ported for the next couple of years, doing expedition cruises out of there, going up to Norway, Scandinavia, and the British Isles. So 22nd of September is, from a Hurtigruten Expeditions perspective, really important because that's the first date we've got an expedition ship sailing. And the beauty of it is it's actually out of the UK. So from a UK office perspective, that's a massive bonus. On our Coastal Express service, obviously out of Norway, the ships have been sailing, albeit intermittently, right throughout the pandemic. So obviously the ships will be and have provide a service for the Norwegian government and the Norwegian public. So the ships have been sailing up and down the coast, but it's really been very much for local traffic and heavily regulated. So we've had ships in the water, but obviously far from what normal times would be. But 22nd of September is key for us.
Yeah, normal times are hopefully
just around the corner.
Just around the corner. Let's talk practicalities. Peter, first I'll start with you. In terms of getting on board the ship, and we were covering this shortly before the session started, in terms of testing requirements and also whether passengers have to be double jabbed, can you give us Silversea's protocols for that?
Yeah, so from a Silversea perspective, all our crew and all our guests have to be double vaccinated. So that's very clear. No one comes on the ship unless they're double vaccinated. If you take Silver Moon in Greece, for example, again, you can get into Greece with no problem or no testing so long as you're double vaccinated. On arrival at the terminal in Athens, we've set up a separate area next to the main terminal where we check everyone's details and provide an antigen test. That takes about 10 to 15 minutes. And then once people have a negative result for that, then they come on board the ship. And then every morning, your butler actually does a temperature check. And then because British guests need to show a test on the return back to the UK, we carry out an antigen test with our nurses on board the ship the day before disembarkation and provide all of our guests with a certificate. So we're doing all we can. It is quite straightforward when you're doing a one country destination cruise, because Greece have been, I have to say, magnificently helpful in this whole process. What is going to be more complicated for all of us is when ships start going into multi-destinations, so cruising around different parts of Europe. So we might touch on that. That will become more complicated, but Iceland and Greece, when you're going to a one country cruise, it's quite straightforward and working well.
I'm going to come on to the destination. I know we've got some questions being asked already about excursions, so I will come on to that. Mark, just run us through the protocols for Hurtigruten.
Yeah, so the double jabbed requirement for our expedition cruises is needed. With Norway, to actually get on the ships, it's optional, but highly recommended for double jabs. The slight complexity, suppose, from UK guests is that you need to have a double jab and the NHS app, the digital app, to get into Norway for English and Welsh guests. So effectively, any British guests going to Norway to join our ships do need to be double jabbed. But it is a requirement of the Norwegian government to gain access into the country rather than the Hurtigruten requirements on the coast. On expedition, it is a double jab requirement is required. So the answer is overall, yes, you need to have double jabs to get on the ships.
And that's so that sails from Dover.
Correct, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to go to our first question, and thanks for those that are posting questions. Do continue to post as many as you'd like, and I'll put them all to Mark and Peter. Sarah Watson asks, are excursions operating as normal or are there restrictions? Mark, talk to us about the protocols for excursions with Hurti.
They're operating as normal as possible. We're working very closely with local suppliers. As Peter's pointed out, the benefit we've got is it's just Norway, so we're working with a one country operation, which is hugely beneficial. And also because it's our home country, we've got a huge amount of communication and contact with our local suppliers. So they're operating, also obviously subject to local restrictions if in case there's any additional COVID outbreaks and stuff. But overall, yes, they are much smaller groups. They're being controlled more. They're being taken off and staggered as they get on and off the ship, so they're controlling social distancing, so stopping everyone getting around the gangway in one plate. They're being staggered, and also we're working with the suppliers that if there's any equipment, things like we do hiking poles and things like that, they're fully sanitized, and all the buses are fully sanitized, and face masks are required to be worn if they're on a coach, for example. Going on a particular excursion, face masks are required. So the answer is they're operating. But obviously not what you get at class as normal times, but they are operating.
Are there fewer options or the same options that you always use?
Same options overall. Sometimes obviously that can be dictated to by weather, certainly in Norway, but that would happen whether we were in COVID or not. Yeah. So within the COVID world, you've very much got it's operating as normal as it can do at the moment. So the answer is yes. Everybody should go expecting to do the excursions that they would normally plan on doing.
Yeah. Okay. And Peter, same question for Silversea. And obviously you've had the sailing recently, have you? I know our very own Tishy luxury editor April Hutchinson was on one such sailing last week.
Yes, and to help our travel agent friends, Clear's global approach, when we first started cruising, we invented a new phrase called bubble shore excursions, which was where we at many cruise lines said, actually, we're only going to initially allow people to go off the ship on an organized excursion and not to go wander off into the local shops and bars. Clear have now changed that advice as things improve. So it's now up to all cruise lines can now send their customers ashore, but it depends on each local port's restrictions. So in Greece at the moment, with the Silver Moon, all the Greek islands have said it's fine for people to come off the ship on their own and go independently and do what they would like to do. As we go around Europe, there will be some destinations that say they would still prefer bubble shore excursions, and we'll work with both. So we will obviously have a full range of excursions, and if it's a port that says for now we only want you to allow people off the ship on an organised excursion, we'll do that. If it's a port that says anybody can come off, then we'll do both our organised shore excursions and allow them to go into town or go off to visit a local beach. So it will be up to each individual country and port to set their own ruling as to what happens. And that's why we're having to work so hard, and why it's great that the travel agents are there to help us, because these are the questions that people want to know. So as you said earlier, Sophie, there's never been a better time to be a travel agent, because that advice and reassurance is something that's never been more important.
And how can agents keep track on the different changes for each country? Are you posting, are there any kind of helpful links?
There are two ways of doing it. Most cruise lines are advising guests in our e-docs, which also agents can have access to on mysilversea.com.
Okay.
But also, if you go into the websites we're all getting used to go into of different governments, then you tend to get the answer. Clear also have some information, but if you're unsure, certainly my advice is to give the cruise line a ring, because they know the answer.
Great. Okay, good. Hope that answered your question, Sarah. She says, great, thank you. So I think so. We've got a question from Yvonne Holmes, which is for Mark, although Peter, I know obviously Silversea does sail to Antarctica as well. She's asking, Mark, Antarctica cruises, what is the situation with that as Argentina's borders are closed? She has clients that are due to go in November with her.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because Argentina and Chilean borders are still closed. I think Chile have set up to the end of August. So we're waiting to see what they say. The plan from a Hurtigruten perspective is that the ships will sail down, at the moment, will sail down to Valparaiso and then round to Ushuaia and Punta Arenas empty. Obviously, that reduces the amount of multiple countries that the ships would have to normally visit on the way down. So our plan at the moment is the end of October, early November, the ships will commence, the three ships will commence their Antarctica, South Georgia and Falklands itineraries as planned at the moment. Our fingers and toes are crossed, clearly. You know, that we lost last season, as everybody did. We lost the back end of the 2019-2020 season as well. Although it wasn't massively affected, the last guests did get affected. So we are desperate to get back there, and I know clients are desperate to get back there. I've got friends that are going there that keep asking me the same question, and the plan at the moment is we're going, but clearly who knows what's around the corner. It's going to be, we're doing all we can, and we have got alternative plans lined up, but we're doing everything we can to protect the season. And of course, clients are desperate, as Peter said, they're absolutely desperate to go. The feedback we're getting is when can we go, when can we go, when can we go? And it's kind of, we're as desperate to get there as much as you are.
Yeah, it's the uncertainty, isn't it, that's plagued this entire...
I'm more positive. I was on a call about a week ago, and the view was we're more positive now than we were a month ago. So let's just hope that positivity keeps growing.
Yes, fingers crossed. Hope that answers the question, Yvonne. I want to stick with destinations because it's really exciting to hear about, you know, the fact that hopefully we might be able to get these sailings back to places like Antarctica. Want to hear from you guys if there are any particular trends that you're seeing, if certain destinations are proving more popular than others. We're hearing a lot of talk about bucket list destinations that people have been sort of trapped inside their homes for the last 2 years. They want to splurge. Peter, are you seeing any trends like that? Are bucket list trips doing particularly well?
Well, the first piece of good news is that the 2022 is doing extremely well for all cruise lines, and certainly for us at Silversea. So the pent-up demand is a real thing. People using up their future cruise credits is a real thing. So touch wood, so far for 2022, sales are remarkably strong. There is a bit of a trend towards closer to home still, Sophie. So our number one destination is the Mediterranean, followed by Northern Europe, because people are very comfortable with the Mediterranean. They know where it is. They know they can get there and back quite quickly. So we are still seeing a bit of a closer to home. But then if you stretch out towards the second half of 2022 and into winter 22-23, then we're beginning to see demand for Asia come back. And from an expedition perspective, we're seeing really strong demand for the likes of Galapagos later next year, Antarctica for next winter. In fact, we recently launched our programs are now on sale right up until spring 2024. And we wouldn't normally be on sale so far out, but we know that people have this pent up demand. They want something in the diary. And as Mark said, the bucket list destinations are more popular than ever. But more generally, 2022 is strong. And I think just to build on the point about Antarctica, there are plenty of destinations this winter that at the moment aren't looking that confident, but over coming weeks could become more confident. Yeah. So our advice to agents is where guests have bookings, hold on to those bookings because they know how flexible we'll be if we do have to change. And what works really well is when we do need to make a cancellation, we call it voyage to voyage, where we then say to our travel agent partners, so why don't you move your guest onto the same or similar voyage the following winter? So our advice is to hold the bookings for now. If we can operate, great. If not, then we move them on to later departures. And that means that we get to keep the revenue. Our travel agent partners get to keep the booking as well. And the guests are happy they have, because most people want something to look forward to. Yeah. So we are seeing a bit of leapfrogging into future seasons. And I think we'll see more of that as the world returns to more confidence.
Well, Yvonne says it's all right, these clients going on a cruise with you in January.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Yvonne. Much appreciated. She made the right choice.
Mark, what about you in terms of trends and sort of these bucket list trips that we were mentioning? And are you seeing that 2022 is particularly busy?
100%. 2022 is looking really, really strong, which is great, whether that be the Coastal Express or the expeditions. Within that, yes, ex-UK, our programme from the UK is looking strong. We've got not only the Dover sailing, but we've got Nansen coming to Liverpool and Spitsbergen sailing out of Glasgow. Both of those are selling really well. So they're very much home port kind of destinations. But also the likes of Alaska is doing very well. A couple of years of without Alaska season, has I think the demand for there is looking really strong. Our Antarctica 22-23 again is looking very strong. And similar to Peter, we launched our Northwest Passage for August 2023 a couple of months ago, and that has seen some really, really impressive demand. And that's the most, ultimate bucket list voyage from Rome right the way through to Halifax in Nova Scotia, and that's for August 2023. So we're 2 years hence, and we're seeing some really good business on that.
Did you launch that earlier than you would have done normally?
Yes. We launched that because 2022 effectively had been sold out, either with people rebooking into it or new business. And we decided to bring the launch of the 23 itinerary forward based on demand. So it was much earlier than planned, so which is great. The other thing that we've announced recently is our Galapagos program as well. That's new for Hurtigruten, so we've launched that recently. And also last week, West Africa and Cape Verde as well. There's some new destinations, some warm water destinations for us. So they've seen some real initial interest. It's early days, but we've seen some real good interest on those as well.
Brilliant. I am conscious of time, so I'm just going to ask this one last question very quickly. Agent FAMs, any sign that they might be able to come back? Have you got plans for them? Peter, I'll come to you, and then Mark. Obviously, I appreciate it's an uncertain situation, but any plans in the pipeline?
Yes, our first agents boarded the Silver Moon in Greece yesterday. We started with some Scottish agents, and we've split our 10-night itineraries into 4 and 6, and our regional sales managers are escorting some of our agent partners over the next 3 weeks to at last be able to show them a ship. So we're definitely committed to doing that longer term as and when we can. But it was brilliant to get feedback that we are, as of today, sailing with travel agent FAMs on Silver Moon in Greece, because there's no better way to show off what we can do by asking our travel agents to experience it. So if you're out there and you haven't been invited by our regional sales manager, then make sure you give them a hard time. But, we're at it already, and we'd like to do more of it.
Great, you heard it here first. Give them a hard time. Mark, quickly to yourself, same question.
Yeah, we've none planned as yet. I mean, we're first anticipating ship visits to get people down to see Maud in Dover. We will absolutely be doing FAM trips. Fingers crossed this side of Christmas on possibly Maud and possibly Coastal Voyage. In March 2020, we had I think it was about 1,500 agents that were due to come visit MS Nansen to see around this incredible new ship. And it was curtailed and it was cut short very early in the programme in mid-March by this blessed pandemic. So, you know, all of our plans were curtailed, but echoing what Peter said, you know, the ability to get to see trade, to get onto the ships, to touch it, to feel it, and to see what, you know, we can offer is vital. So we're absolutely committed to that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry that we're out of time as ever. So I am now going to hand over to our Queen of Luxury, April Hutchinson. If you click into the next session, you can join her there where she's exploring destination trends in the luxury market. But thank you very much to our two fantastic panelists, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon, everyone.